Minnesota. I'm your host, Alan Tracy.
And I'm Rahana Power.
And today we have actor Chelsey Grant joining us. Hello, Chelsey.
Hi. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're excited to have you on. We were just chatting about whether we had actually met or not. And it sounds like we may have, or we may have passed each other, or who knows. So it'll be fun to get to actually chat with you.
Yeah, but now that it's virtual, that's when you know it's real.
Exactly. Yeah. This is going to be officially on the record. So.
All right.
We have lots to talk about. I want to hear all about you and your acting career. But before we dive into it, just to get to know Chelsey on another level, can you tell us something fun, unique, interesting about yourself?
Yes, I was thinking, what should I say? And should it be something that's, interesting and meaningful, or should it just be something really stupid and silly? And I'm going to go for the latter because I feel like you. So, oh gosh, my friends are going to be so disappointed that I'm saying this as my fun fact, but my hands are super double jointed and I can clap with one hand, but it sounds really gross. But I can should I you guys might have to redact the sound. So, or I could just say I'm double jointed. That's too creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, do it.
Do it. Yeah.
I want to see it and hear it. Yeah.
See, I already regret saying it, but okay, here we go. We'll just do one. Okay, ready?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
See? How exciting.
What?
I know.
That's amazing.
I don't know. It's like I know sign language, and then I have double jointed hands, and then I can clap with one hand. But those, I think the sign language of all three is the most.
Don't worry,
helpful.
Zoom did redact the sound. I didn't hear anything, so yeah.
Wait, it did?
Yeah.
Yes.
It did it automatically. So
it probably just assumed it was like background noise. And
Nope.
So that's really
filter system.
Well,
but we saw it.
I'm so grateful the audience.
This is not a human voice. Get rid of it. Don't.
Yeah,
add it
good.
in.
I'm glad. It's not.
So
it's a pretty pathetic sound. So.
Oh boy. Okay.
Oh, I love it. That's amazing, and also that you do, like sign language.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
I'm communicative.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I love it. It's beautiful. My friend is my close friend of mine is deaf, and we did musicals together in middle school. I knew the alphabet already, but after I chatted and got to be friends with her, the more and more I picked up. She still teaches. She actually teaches ASL now. And I've never taken a class, but I have kept up with her and with as much of the language as I can pick up. So, yeah.
That's so cool.
A little bit more, like I said, useful in day-to-day life than one-handed clapping or having double jointed fingers,
Mm.
You never know. That just means you're extra expressive. And I think that's a good thing. So, no worries. Especially if you're someone who talks with their hands. Like I talk with my hands, but it doesn't necessarily have an effect. So, I mean, at least this way you can get your point across extra well.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we experienced the double clap or the single hand clapping without sound like a deaf person. So
okay.
It plays. Yeah.
There we go. I love that. Okay. So diving in, lots to talk about, like I mentioned. You're an actress.
Mm-hmm.
What got you started? Like, how did you decide, you know what, this is what I'd like, I'm interested in, I want to go for?
Right. It's kind of a funny story. I mean, my mom, as my older sister and I were kids, I was like 3, she put me and my older sister in dance just to be comfortable in front of crowds. And as soon as I expressed that, I'm not into this, or that I didn't really like it, she was going to take us out because she just wanted us to be comfortable in front of crowds. And something happened and I just fell in love with it. And it kind of morphed as I was taking, 9 to 10 dance classes a week. And then I got into middle school, and that's when the musicals would start coming. And then in high school, it would be straight plays and Shakespeare. And I started adapting that stage love for dance into other stage forms. And as soon as I did my first stage show, which was an adaptation of MASH, for the stage. I don't know what happened. It just, everything stripped away, and just having the words was when I knew. I think I had found something that was really special to me.
I love that. An adaptation of MASH.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is phenomenal and not something I think I've ever heard of before.
No.
Yeah, I don't think it was done a lot. I mean, it was it was interesting to be able to scrunch all of that beautiful story arc that they had created into just one vignette of one stage play. But I think they did a good job of keeping authentic to the character writing and everything. But yeah, it's not. I don't think it's typically done. I haven't heard of it ever being done since then. So it's a pretty cool opportunity.
That's so cool, though. Yeah, being able to say that you did it. That's awesome.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So when did you get into film then? Like that theater was that just around the corner, or was that much later?
So I started doing stage work, like I said, in like sixth grade, but had already been performing most of my life in some sort of capacity. And the switch to on camera came after I got my BFA degree. I graduated with my BFA in acting in 2016, and I was so thoroughly convinced that I was going to pursue straight theater and stage, and not only, but I just had this thought that it was the given. I got my degree, and now I go do stage shows. And I realized quite quickly that all the skills that I learned in college from other facets of the world of acting were immediately presented to me as soon as I graduated. And you can choose to kind of brush off or say no to those things that maybe aren't within your quote wheelhouse that you just studied, or you can train up or adapt or get excited about the challenges. And I had seen some postings for some film work, and what drew me to it was the fact that a lot of them were dramas. And being in Minneapolis, the theater scene really changed quite a lot in the last, it changes every year, especially post-COVID. But while I was coming home, there was so many stage shows and straight plays and beautiful dramatic works. And they're still there, but the town is so musical theater here. And I love musical theater, but I found my deepest adrenaline and excitement for straight plays. So the film came along out of, I think, a gut urge to really try something new, because the stories I wanted to tell were on a different medium. And because I started to see them pop up in about 2016 is when I started adapting a lot of my stage auditions to start training for how can I adapt as an actor on camera for commercial, industrial, but most importantly to me, film.
You had mentioned that you came home to Minnesota. Where did you get your BFA?
So I got my BFA in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin, called Stevens Point.
I know where that is.
You do?
Yeah.
Well, they're known for natural resources and the arts, and then there's a really great brewery.
Nice.
But they were wonderful. They put so much money into the arts there, and all my professors that I had were all people who had been working in the industry for such a long time, and a lot of them would take sabbatical and leave for a period of time and come back with this new knowledge. And I was only one of 4 straight acting females. My whole entire class started at 16 my freshman year, and I think we ended with 12, and that was musical theater, male, female, acting, male and female. And so it was pretty tiny. But I applied to 13 universities, got in academically, but then very much like any major programs, you go through the craziness that is college auditions. And so I'd gotten into 3 programs, and I think I aligned most as an actor with being secluded in this awesome, nature-loving town that also had a really good art scene. So that's where I was. And then came back to Minnesota because, the theater scene is what I really was excited for. And totally was taken by surprise to have met some pretty incredible indie filmmakers right off the bat that totally flipped my perception of what I thought I wanted to do on its head, which was, it's just it's funny for me to think of now because it's what I love the most.
Yeah.
But at the time, I didn't even think I thought it one time, not even my film class in college. I was like, I'm not going to do that. So
yeah.
Right. So you mentioned it was dramas and film. Was there a particular role that what was your first film on camera role, or can you, I don't know, is it out there? I don't know.
Can I say it?
Yeah, can you say it?
Right. It's scary. No, my first encounter with working in film in the cities or in film at all that wasn't in college training was Vanessa McGowan Horrocks had a feature that she was working on, and I had noticed that she had been doing she'd worked on some stage productions directing, and so to me as an actor, it felt like a logical audition to go for because I knew that I had heard of her directing stage plays and musicals, and to me, I think there was a sense of excitement knowing that maybe she has some similar verbiage. And it was a little bit less scary for me as a stage trained actor to maybe audition for somebody who had worked with stage actors typically. Pardon. So yeah, I went in for that, and it was actually the same day I think I was offered the role for that. I had just been asked by my agent to put in a third audition tape for like a huge feature that was shooting in Minnesota. And I was shocked my agent put me out for it. And I ended up not booking, but I made it to the final round. I think they cast, I don't know if I should say this.
You can.
I think they cast the producer's daughter. And I remember my agent calling me up and being like, sorry, Chelsey, but you made it far. And I think that happened in one day where it was, I had found out that I had booked this role for the first time to be working on a supporting character that I thought was interesting from a director who I think I can communicate with her. Like it's almost a different language. I was so scared to come off as ignorant with my skill on camera. So I was really focused on trying to study that up. But then the same day I found out I had made it so far in a process on a huge film. And so I was just very fortunate to have, I think, a big snowball right off the bat in supporting my training for on camera.
Absolutely. I'm curious, have you done theater since you jumped into film, or have you just not really gotten back to it, especially like you said, since everything's changed, specifically since the pandemic and everything?
Oh gosh, I still have such a soft spot. So yes, I did. My last stage show, I was in an adaptation of Cinderella, a musical actually, and I was playing one of the stepsisters. And that was right before the pandemic. I had done it for a few months for so many kid audiences, and it was fabulous. Yeah, that was the one that they kept having me audition for Cinderella and read for Cinderella. And then I was so excited. I saw their eyebrow raise and go, could you just read for one of the stepsisters just to see? And it was a great way to, I think, kick off that last show before the big hiatus of COVID, and then mostly honing my skills in a different part of acting. I definitely would go back, like a Shakespeare or Greek. I would just train my butt off. But I don't know. I've fallen in love with the stories on camera a lot and the community. So it's definitely hard to juggle both, but I do have an extreme deep fondness for both.
Yeah, totally understandable. So you're an actress and you've been doing this for a long time now, and have so much training and experience. After being on so many sets and being part of so many productions, is there like a role outside of acting when it comes to the filmmaking process, whether it's on set, pre-production, post-production, that maybe kind of also intrigues you a little bit? Or are you pretty primarily like, nope, everybody does their thing and this is mine and that's fine?
I think I've always had an immense amount of intrigue, to the point where maybe it's not that the intrigue is because I wish to completely pursue it or learn it, but just the understanding of it. I've shared a lot of screens with my friends who are on crew. I've watched someone color grade. I watched someone edit. I listened to somebody edit a voiceover and that works in post-production and sound. I'm sometimes creepy staring at the crew on set.
Yeah.
I find so much intrigue, but myself, actually pursuing those things, the closest I've gotten, and I studied a bit of directing in college, and I don't think that would be out of the question futuristically for me, but I also have such an immense respect for how much work that takes. So if I were to do that, it would have to be something where I felt like there was something particularly unique that I could bring in order to do that, just because I know so many phenomenal directors, and I honestly imagine, I read stories and I feel like I pick out those directors in my head of who I imagine orchestrating those stories. I have worked on writing, terrifying. And I have worked on,
Yes.
yeah, gosh, it's wonderfully terrifying. And I have worked in pre-production on a few of my own shorts, and those have gotten me a taste. And I just think a deeper appreciation for the people that work on all sides.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a mess of characters for sure. Yeah,
Like I
right.
wake up at 3 a.m. in a cold sweat, like, oh my gosh, what if they need to do this? And I'm like, oh, what's wrong with me? It's like almost a sickness that you have in a weird way, that you are trying to get this story out, and you go through different phases of how your mind and body are reacting to where the story could go.
Yeah.
And I just never realized, at least to me, how visceral that was. It's so fascinating.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump ahead here a little bit ask you about your process, like since you bring it up, like what's your favorite thing about it? What's your least favorite thing about it? It sounds like night sweats, but
That was for the writing. I don't think I've had that for acting.
for the writing,
Very
right?
different.
Of
For the
course.
writing. Yes, come on, Alec. You should know.
You don't
You've
sweat
written.
the acting stuff.
No, I do, just in a different medium, in a different way.
Yeah.
No, I would say it's a different kind of addiction and consumption as an actor to me. Writing, I think the reason why I had the sweats and the waking up in the middle of the night is because I felt I was going, because of not being as well trained in writing, I thought I was going to maybe miss a fleeting thought that would allow me to unlock something that was important. As an actor, I trust if certain things are really coming to me while reading the script or analyzing or trying to genuinely figure out who this person is and how to be authentic in that, those druthered up feelings come and go as they need to, as I take my notes or as I read the lines, or even just thinking about it when you're walking around, or there's a less I'm at the point where it's more so letting go of the type A-ness that I've had my whole life, and allowing those things, trusting that the work will show without you trying.
Yeah.
So yeah, lots of journaling, lots of it's the best thing. There's nothing like, I read 2 feature scripts just today of a friend's, and it's exhilarating as an actor, because you just start painting.
Yeah.
And you paint characters that are 60-year-old men, and you paint the character that's the 12-year-old girl. You paint the people that you aren't even eligible to play, because you start caring. So yeah, I don't know. The process is so much more exciting to me, but that does not mean there isn't an extreme subtext of, I hope I do them justice. Oh my God. I hope I serve the story. Oh my God. I hope I show up and I'm bringing uh, the presence that I need to be supporting this thing, making it out of post and in front of audiences' eyeballs.
Mhm.
Yeah, the I have a follow-up. It's just that you've worked on quite a few different types of films, I've noticed, and probably a lot of
Yeah.
different types of directors.
Hmm.
Maybe some that have more specific things in mind versus those that are more open to um, improvisation, perhaps.
Hmm.
Like, where, how does that work with your, your process? Like, are you more of a instinctive actor, or is it more like method, or where do you fall in all that?
Sure. I mean, to be honest, a lot of my technique and how I approach it is super based on the story. And then when you actually get to set and you're working with different new people or even people that you've worked with before, what I find interesting is even if I've worked with the same director on 4 or 5 projects, they approach it differently
Hmm.
as well. So what I try to find is as much as the prep as I can do, get strength in multiple paths. Know the character, but if someone is if the director is coming in and facilitating a space that's allowing for um, creativity, or there's a certain very specific vision and a point, an artistic thing that maybe is not as tangible for me as an actor, but it is to them in post or with lighting or things. You have to show up getting ready to trust that. So I would say, gosh, I mean, yeah, I'm not fully method. That's not typically my path, but I admire so many method actors. I know why they do parts of that for sure. Um, I really enjoy Meisner. I'm actually next month I'm going to London, and I just got my class a class signed up for that, and I'm
Wow.
excited to freshen up after after I haven't done Meisner, I believe, since college, so that'll be an exciting thing.
Huh.
um, yeah, a lot of it is, I genuinely think it's what the role needs, is how I try to assess where I'm at in comfort wise with the role and how many similarities or differences they have with
Mhm.
me. And I try to not discourage the differences or discourage the similarities, but if anything, try to figure out how you can kind of like challenge and grow and meet them where they're at. And I think that's how when I get to set and I have that prepped, a lot of it, like I said, is just trusting the director and team
Mhm.
to guide you to make sure that you're matching the tone that they want to elicit.
Right.
Yeah. Um, I love how I just have to say, like, I love how passionate and well, like, thought out and caring you are for not only the process but acting in itself as a craft. You can really tell, and it's invigorating. So
Oh,
I
what a
just
kind
I
thing
l-
to say. You
like
made
I
my
really
heart
love
flutter a bit.
it.
Yeah, you did. That does mean an immense amount to me because yeah, I really deeply care about the people I work with too. And um, when you see people on a set that are just so invigorated by being
Mhm.
there, and doing what they love and working through issues and stuff, I feel like it's a little bit magic, and you can't help
Mhm.
but kind of word vomit it out. So thanks for saying it politely, that you would just
Of course.
that instead of me
Yes.
going, "Wow, Chelsea, take a breath."
No, it's amazing. As an actress, it doesn't do much right now. But I just love the energy and the care that you have for it, and it's so clear and you really put it out there. So I had to say something because it really is,
Oh,
it's so genuine and it's amazing. Um,
thank you.
So you had mentioned how, you really admire other actors, method actors, all of that. And so I'm going to kind of bounce that into who are some of your favorite actors? And it could
gosh.
be for any reason. It could be because you find them funny or you think they're incredibly talented or whatever, like just in general.
For all the reasons.
For
Oh,
all the reasons.
right. The first one that comes to mind, and she is method, is Sally Fields. Um, just incredible. To me, the thing that I was most attracted to and drawn to her as her being such a phenomenal actor is because she started off with these squeaky clean, The Flying Nun, these roles that people perceived her as just very fun loving and bright. And she flipped some of those roles that she took on a few years later. I mean, I think she told a story about one in particular for Sybil, that she was one of the last people to be seen, and they almost kind of giggled at her coming into the room, because it just seemed so disjointed of probably what they knew of her and what they had seen.
Mhm.
And now I think most people know her for how phenomenally she can work in drama and in comedy. But I mean, I feel like people stick with that drama, and I had seen her do the mom, Amanda, in The Glass Menagerie in New York, and I got a
Wow.
front row rush ticket, and she sat on the edge of the stage with her legs just dangling off as she was speaking to her son, and it was just so real. It was so real, and to be able to see someone that does work on camera and then see them perform on stage is something that I'm very grateful I've had the opportunity to do by just rushing in those lines and getting my $20 ticket. And I saw Amy Adams do the same. I was
Oh, wow.
a huge fan of her,
Mm-hmm.
everything. She was who I said in college we had to choose celebrity parents, that if they had a baby, it would make us as an actor. And I chose her as my mom because I just am so fond of her, so much of her work. And she
Mm-hmm.
also played the mom 2 years ago in London in The Glass Menagerie. And
Oh.
to see the difference between her and Sally Field's rendition was
Mm-hmm.
wild. And then to meet them after, um,
Oh, wow.
in the line where you just gawk and you have your playbill and you just, try not to
Yeah.
seem uncool by saying thank you too many times for your
Yeah.
work. But I would
Yep.
say those two are major influences to me. And I think it's because both of them came into the room with a lot of brightness and joy, and it's funny because both of them have such a deep skill and obviously love for characters who have not had an easy life,
Mm-hmm.
which I find a deep connection to that as well.
Absolutely. The complexity and getting to portray that and show that and share it with others.
Mm-hmm.
Like that,
Right.
absolutely.
But
Yeah.
also comedic roles and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Gosh,
Hey.
they're good, huh?
yeah.
I mean, comedic characters are also complex. They're just real good at it.
Well, and I found myself
Yeah.
laughing in both of those performances of Sally Fields and Amy Adams of Glass Menagerie. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many moments that you can just cackle. They were so real and funny, and they would barely have to move, and you were delighted by just seeing them and hearing them. And yeah, they're funny. I mean, it's just, yeah, I love them. I love them.
Yeah.
It's fabulous. I love that.
So Chelsey, have you progressed in your career as you have come to expect, or do
Sorry.
those?
I'm not trying to be rude.
No,
Calm
that's an
down
amazing
now.
reaction to that question, honestly.
Can we expect anything from choosing an artist path?
A great question.
I mean, I don't even think I don't know if I've even tried. I think, my gosh, there's a drive that you, I think, have to have if you want to do this profession, not just as parts of your life, but most of your life, or full parts of every day, that I think the only thing I've really expected of myself is to ask myself when something challenging comes up, or is scary, am I saying, or am I shying away because I think it's scary, that I'm afraid to be poor at it? Or is it scary because it's something that I don't find joy in? And if it's scary because it's a challenge and it's something that I think would be healthy for me to learn as an actor, and part of you like gets a little twinge in your heart thinking, oh, wow, that would be wild to try to do that. That's the one that I think I expect that of myself. I expect to try and overcome those fears as an artist. And I think that's the only thing that I expect of myself as I stay in this career, is to not hang out in the comfy, because I don't think any artist choose best job for that. And to remind myself that it's okay to not be good at something for a period of time, or, you know, be afraid of those things, because that's exactly what humans go through, and most likely it will help. It means you care. So that's the only thing I've expected. But path-wise, Alan, absolutely not. No. No, not one thing has come like, and it's not a bad thing. It's lovely. I don't want to set myself, if I set certain very idealistic or specific goals, I think I'd be detracting from the things that actually made me a stronger actor that I ended up taking up instead.
Yeah, expectations are a tricky thing, especially with yourself.
Sure.
Because, it's, I think I think that's kind of a trick question in general, but I like to ask it anyways.
I'm sorry I laughed at you. It was a
No,
great
it's fine.
question.
It's
It was an
fine.
amazing response, to be
it
honest.
was. It really was. It told me all I needed to know right there.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, it's very genuine response. It's understandable.
Well,
yeah,
I liked it. It was fun.
Yeah, expectations when it comes to like how we progress in acting or film or the theater, whatever. Yeah, I guess, I mean, unless you kind of get like lucky a little bit and are maybe even get a head start when you start it, those things have some determination in not success, but maybe notoriety, maybe, but
Sure.
but when you're working for it, and building your career, that's a different path, I'll say, for everyone, obviously.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah. It's super unique. And that's why I think it's funny when, sometimes I'll meet some younger actors that'll come for advice or asking where to take classes. And I think a lot of the time that what you just try to encourage is to not set heavy expectations of, I want to book this many by this year, or I want to make contact and become friends with this many people in the industry, or, I think genuinely trusting your gut and trusting your own self work towards genuinely loving the process and being better will bring probably better than your own expectations, honestly.
right.
So
In ways obviously you don't expect, because let's say you get like that Netflix movie or show, or you're in a major Hollywood feature film or something, then what is that? Like you said, that's kind of the process. You go to the next thing, whatever that is, and yeah.
And it's not linear. I think that's the other thing, is you can have that experience and then nothing again for a while, or very small things again for a while. And if I feel like you're saying, setting those expectations could lead you up or build up like such disappointment and fear of failure if you're on that roller coaster, versus really enjoying it and having high aspirations because of all of that. So it's a really
Absolutely.
good point.
We're speaking each other's language.
I love it. This is
Because
fabulous.
in retrospect, when I've looked back at everything I didn't get and every single gap, and I mean, I remember explicitly having one on the floor starfish moment, dread, where I was just completely sprawled on my floor, and that was in high school, trying to get into a program. Yep. That's when I got the call, and I was like, Chelsey, was that worth it? Was that being on the floor, just going, what am I going to do with my life? Was it worth it? And would that have made me miss an opportunity of something else? And I feel like, the expectations, you can have, like I said, expectations of yourself to be committed to doing the most you can for your passion in the direction that you think is good for you that day. Because what I thought I should be doing yesterday is not the same as what I should be doing today. And that is just as valid. Yes. And I think expectations, sometimes people will hold on to the ones they've had for years because they said it aloud or they promised themselves. And, they may not agree with what that was. And I think that's totally okay. If anything, it's more empowering to say, you know what, I don't know if I want that anymore. I want to change gears and do this. Yeah. I know probably the longest answer to the question on the planet, but I'm passionate about it. And I'm glad that you guys have so much investment in it as well.
Yes.
Cheeky question.
Cheeky question. Amazing answer. Yeah, I really like what you're saying. Having an expectation of yourself to try and, go for what feels right. And like you said earlier, like what you feel would bring you joy and where you want to go. And an expectation to always check in with yourself. But the things that you can't control, there's no reason to put expectations on that. Otherwise, you're just
it'd be a tough
and
job.
miss so many things.
Already a tough job.
Yeah,
you don't have to do that to yourself.
Right. Yeah.
Right. That's interesting, very astute, Rahana, because when I think about like things like 2020 and the pandemic, it's like a lot of us in the arts already were going through stuff that, makes you, take a time out or whatever, and so it's almost like we were ready for that sort of thing in some ways, not always, obviously, but just in general, like the never hearing something for a while or, just not getting what you want, so or the role never comes around, or if it does, it's like you said, like with the producer's daughter or something. Who knows?
I think it's so funny because the amount of joy in my young actor self, that was one of my first on camera auditions ever. I was just, I could hyperventilate at the fact that they're like, oh, they want a second tape. Oh, they want a third tape. And I was, to me, that was already immense success. And I think and that wasn't just because of my youngness or my just switching over. That was just in general. Yeah. Someone wants to hear me give a perspective on this. How cool, Yeah,
exactly. Like I was watching an interview. I think it was an older interview with Ryan Gosling, and I think he was talking about something similar to this like type of question, and said like you're going to be most successful if you go into the career thinking of it as every audition is my job. And I'm going to do my job as best I can, just like you would with any other job. And then if the boss decides to go with you for something, that's not your job. Like, then you get to have fun and do all these amazing things. But your job, like that's the bonus. Your actual job is to audition as much and as best you can. And I think thinking of it that way kind of keeps you in a really healthy mindset as well. Because rejection that's a big thing for actors. And so if you think of it that way, it's a little less hurtful. Less sensitive, so yeah.
And I don't know, maybe I'm obnoxiously glass half full, but I'm grateful that my brain is that way because I feel like I can directly tie reasons why I booked gigs sometimes ended up being
Yeah.
because of skills that were not because of me as an actor. They were because of me as
Right.
a person, being a human in day-to-day life.
Yeah.
I'm good with kids. Why in the heck
Right.
was I booked on that thing? They happened to know or see something, and someone mentioned I'm good with kids, and you're
Mhm.
like, what in the heck? That is that there's no way that I booked that thing because of that. But
Yeah.
sometimes it could be the littlest, smallest bits,
Smallest thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, and sometimes you wore the right color shirt, and you have to
Yes.
own that was the
Yep.
thing. I wore yellow one time to an audition, and I swear to God, I think that's why I booked it. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, she's quirky. She wore yellow.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't get a role one time because they were like, we actually want someone a little shorter. I was like,
Yeah.
I can't control that, but I appreciate you letting me know so I don't think to myself it's because I did XYZ wrong. Like, I'm not quite short enough. That's fine. Okay, let's move on. You know?
Yeah.
But
It's
yeah.
nice to not. Yeah, I only let myself think about the nose for a period of time. I kind of have
Yeah.
my weird system, and it's
Mhm.
not to not validate, that you can be disappointed
Yes.
or sad that you aren't going to invest more time in a callback or pursuing that project. But I don't know. I truly believe if you get into the wallow zone, um, you're only hurting yourself. And that might be a given to people like,
Mhm.
who I'm chatting with you guys. I feel like we're probably mimicking the same things, but when you're in it, it's absolutely valid. Why?
Yeah.
Because you tried your damnedest, because
Mhm.
you cared. And yeah, I found that I don't let myself, I always say don't go beyond a day, but I'm at the point now where it's like, it's usually less than an hour. And it's not that
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm like, I just hope that project happens. I hope it
Mhm.
happens. And I'm genuinely excited. Maybe this is weird of me. I'm genuinely excited to see that final story be made. Because if
Yeah.
anything, maybe it makes me a woo woo artist, but I'm just excited that stories are being made. And
Yes.
you, the team chose the people because they felt that that was the best choice.
Mhm.
And so to me, it's exciting to see all the puzzle pieces come together and see a final project. And, I hear voiceovers on the radio all the time that I'm like, why does that sound familiar? Oh, I
Yeah.
auditioned for that. And
Oh,
it's like I'm eager to hear who voiced it. Can I recognize them? And sometimes I do, and I'm like, hell yeah. I knew that spot was good for their voice.
Huh.
mhm.
And sometimes I hear it, and the first few words I go, oh, that sounds familiar. And then I'll go, oh my God, that's me. I forgot I did book that one. But the first few minutes, you're so used to,
Yep.
you're just so used to, I don't know, it's invigorating to see your friends, maybe even in the same acting type as you, and what they
Yeah.
book and
Mhm.
how differently they play it. And to me, that's just assuring, like, that was meant to be for them,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
You're
Absolutely.
smirking, Alan. You're
Yeah.
smirking.
The what way you're describing all this just reminds me of, have you seen Inside Out?
Mhm.
You remind me of Joy right now, Amy Poehler's
Oh
character.
Oh
no.
yeah. I love it.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, Miss Sunny Side Up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I said, I think some people might find it obnoxious, but I just have owned it at
Mm.
this point. And if they don't enjoy it, then sorry. I'll just keep
Yeah.
I'll just keep doing a big obnoxious grin about it.
Yeah.
Because I'm human. I don't feel like this every day. I definitely.
Yeah.
But when it comes to my work and the arts, I feel like uh, I've softened my mindset around
Mhm.
what disappointment means and how to try to take it as much of a healthy direction as possible.
Mhm.
But if it comes off as joy from inside out, I'll take it.
Well, I mean, just yeah,
Yeah.
just from that standpoint,
In the
yeah. But
best way. The
Oh,
yeah,
best
well,
way.
thank you. Yeah,
Yes.
I don't like to. I want to be grounded in my joy as well. I think that's
Mhm.
you don't want ignorant joy. Like, to me, I genuinely like find a reason. Does that sound silly? they're,
No.
you
No,
know,
it makes
they're
sense. Yeah.
competitive,
Yeah.
but I don't want to be joyful just to be like, wee.
Yeah.
But to generally find the core reason why something can be a good thing,
Mhm.
even with multiple other emotions layered alongside
Yeah,
of it.
absolutely. That's honestly like the healthiest type of perspective that someone can have. And I feel like there are so many, so many, the majority of people who I think would love to get to the point in their mental health where that's their outlook and their personality, where they are glass half full and have these really healthy like points of view for everything. And it's really hard for a lot of people. And so I don't think it's annoying or whatever you were saying. Like I think that it's refreshing and it kind
Oh.
of, I don't know, for like I'm a complainer, I'll say it right now. And so like I think for someone like me, or maybe someone who has an even harder time being Haskell full, it kind of like almost lifts me up a little bit to the point where I'm like, yeah, no, you know what? You're right. Things are good. Life is awesome. Like, so it's actually really refreshing. So yes,
Oh,
it's
well,
joy in
don't
the best
think
way.
I'm, okay, I'll tell you earlier today, I had a meeting earlier and I wasn't running behind or anything, but I just decided to book it down my hallway and run for no reason and slide in my socks because why not? And smacked my elbow so hard on my wall. And it was like a dramatic 10-minute in my bed, like collapsed over, like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. So I'm also
Humanity. It's humanity.
there's that was
Yeah.
obviously silly. There's obviously more, deeper parts of life
Right.
where you'll take it seriously, but just
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you know,
Yes.
like the
Exactly.
massive bruise that I will have tomorrow
Oh
on
no.
this elbow, is a reminder that,
Yeah.
you can't always run and slide in your socks on cloud nine. You can't.
Right. Yeah. No, but yeah, you have
Noted.
the range of emotions, but overall, really good outlook. So I like that.
Thank
Um,
you.
so you've had a lot of roles. Um, we had kind of touched on that a lot. And
Mhm.
um, can you talk about like any of, some of your favorite roles that you've gotten to take on, favorite characters that you were able to portray?
Sure. Uh, Um, I think I always find the ones that stick with me the most are the ones that like I was kind of saying before, the ones I was most afraid of
Mhm.
in a healthy way. Um, to the point where I go, what the hell? Why in the hell did they cast me? Like, not that I didn't think part of me could do it,
Mhm.
but the fact that out of all the people that I thought might look more of the role or might have that in their what I like to call front pocket. That
Mhm.
role is in their front pocket. They know that without saying a word, opening their mouth, moving a muscle, they could be that character.
Mhm.
The ones that I've booked that I know that that is not how I'm seen or my front pocket, I think are the ones that have stuck with me the most. So, um, yeah, there was the Western that you guys mentioned. That was a huge one. I learned how to ride and shoot and skin a deer all
Wow.
very quickly. And no one would ever look at me and go, "That's a sharpshooter." No one in the right mind would do that.
Hmm.
And being able to, I mean, I was at the hips of the armorer and the stunt coordinator, and I've never got that experience on a set to be working that closely. And I know I have a background in body and movement, but this was a whole new thing. So,
Yeah.
wearing ankle weights for 2 weeks before set around my house to just think
Mm.
of, you know, she probably, if she's the only female in an outlaw gang, why the hell is she there? She better be good.
Mhm.
And, she's not going to have maybe a dancer's posture like I do and walk as lightly on her feet as I do. So that one was meaningful to me because I knew there was a lot of growth that needed to happen for me to feel like I was doing her and the team justice. But similarly, I mean, this one's for stage, but it's kind of related to film in a way because it's a Sam Shepard play. Um, called Fool for Love that just changed my heart forever on darker storytelling. And this woman, the first line out of her mouth, I would not be able to say. She is explicit. She is gritty from Mojave Desert, just ruthless. And I love her. And I remember just falling in love. And I was a freshman in college. And I go, why in the hell did they see me as a woman who had this much strength and history? And I know it was in college, but I gained a lot of strength in knowing that you can grow with the character.
Yeah. You
can trust your team to make sure that you fulfill that. So I would say those roles tend to stick out. I did have one in Arizona about, I think, a year and a half ago now. And that one was really challenging. There's a tub scene that she was supposed to see some pretty devastating stuff. It's not out, so I'm not going to say, but you know, it's probably the most alone I had ever felt in a character. And I think that there was something really eerily beautiful about that. And to try to understand that and to get to know her and then get to be her for the duration of filming was really eye-opening. So those are probably a handful of them.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I'm a nerd. I could talk forever. I'm it's gross. I'm in love with them all. They all teach you something, you know.
Absolutely. Not gross. This is why we're all here. So so Rick, do you have you mentioned drama a lot, but I'm not familiar with like all of the range of genres that you've been able to act in within film, but are there any that you haven't taken on yet that you're like, man, it'd be fun to do XYZ?
See, my heart just goes, oh God, it clenches up. Because I did so much comedy on stage, so much. And a lot of musicals and a lot of, I mean, I was, you know, getting paid for long, 6-month runs to be the most expressive ensemble dancer, or, you know, the stepsister. And so I've done comedy on camera, but a feature or a character that has that continuation, I think spending time to sit with that character in it beyond maybe a short or a shorter commitment project, like more like a day player, something that would be either supporting or a lead in more of a comedic tone, and whether that be a dark comedy or something more light, because like I said, I have done that, but I don't know, there's something about the length of time that you spend with that character. It's not a glimpse and it's not a blip that you're seeing of this maybe one funny moment in their life. It's maintaining the authenticity of the tone for a longer period of time, which to me, I mean, I did so much Shakespearean comedy and all of this stuff, and to me, it's just like there's part of me that gets terrified saying, oh my God, the camera's just going to blow it up. I'll look huge. I'll look too big. So if the right script comes along and I audition and catch somebody's eye enough and work on that skill and hone that skill enough to get the opportunity for that, I think that would be the next big scary challenge. But no, I seek out psychological thrillers, and I seek out I always say characters with meat that you can chew on, like take a big bite, which might sound creepy, but the meaty characters that you can there's something to latch on to, is what I typically look for. But I also, like I was mentioning to you, I like to keep myself challenged to make sure I'm working the muscle. And that's one way to do it, is to not, is to tell yourself, no, I don't want to do that, because, maybe you're a little scared of it. So yeah, definitely open to, I don't know, even just reading scripts like that make me excited. So
Oh,
What type
absolutely.
of comedies? So you said dark comedy and
Oh man, did you guys watch Beef on
Not
yes,
Netflix?
yet.
I did.
Okay, no worries. It is. I told someone this, and it was they looked at me really funny, but I had said it was for some reason I watched it 3 times in a row straight through.
Wow.
And I think I go, for some reason, it was my comfort. Uh, like how Friends is comfort for people.
Hmm.
I found that yeah, you're laughing because it's
Yeah.
crazy, right?
Yeah.
But
Awesome.
I just felt like they were so real. And so that type of dark comedy I find beautiful. I mean, I felt like that writing to me, so much of it reminded me of some of the stage plays that I had studied in the past, and just that perfect balance of flickering in the humor just at the right moment that felt so real. And it might be overly dark, but I mean, I've done horror spoof, and I love that. And what's nice for me is I kind of cheat. My director friend that's worked with me on those has laughed with me about it. He goes, "Yeah, the reason why we hired you is because you're a dramatic actor," and they would always have me be the straight man kind of the spoof. And so, he was saying, you can't be a final girl and know you're a final girl. You just have to be fighting for your life.
Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
I've a lot of the times been on camera the straight laced character to have people bounce off of in comedy. But I'm a huge nerd, goof, weirdo. And so all my stage friends think it's hilarious that it hasn't really showed on camera yet. They're like, "How long have you put this facade up to tell people that that you can hold yourself together on a set like that's so dramatic?" So yeah, there's definitely a lot of heart openness to if the right things come along, and
Hmm.
uh, to jump on it.
Yeah. Nice. Are are there certain films that have been like influential to you at all that you've admired other than Inside Out?
Other than that, right? Um, the one that I would always say that for most of my life since I saw the film, which I can't even recall when I did, what is Memento. Um, and I just think there was such a, oh gosh, I just felt like I was leaning in the whole time. I so
Hmm.
desperately wanted to understand what was going on in his head and what was going on with him. And uh, so I found huge intrigue in that film, and similar with slightly different tone, but like the Truman Show.
Mm,
It's like that
yeah.
same. I had the audience member desire, I think, to want to deeply understand when someone's going through something they maybe don't understand themselves, and so those
Yeah.
two come to mind
Mm,
immediately.
Hmm.
Um, And then, I'm a sucker for some of the adaptations. So like Doubt with Philip Seymour Hoffman
yeah.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
and
good.
Meryl Streep and Amy Adams. Oh gosh, I mean, just so phenomenally done.
Yes.
And yeah, I think you can tell I lean dark, huh?
I like it.
You
But
don't
yeah,
say. Scare
but
package, Frogman. No.
yeah, yeah, I know all the dramas. But I don't know. There's something about it in those movies where you can just like you can tell that you can't tell the actors acting, obviously, but you, after you click the movie off and you go, obviously those were actors.
Right.
You look at them, and I think at least in my head, I just think, wow, the amount of depth is almost incomprehensible.
Hmm.
Like, I'm just fascinated to know, like, what did they do? Did they practice changing their breathing pattern? Did they how are their mouths and their consonants formed that way, even
Hmm.
without, they don't have an accent, but they're different? Or their facial muscles. I've never seen them make that face before, and I've watched so much of their stuff.
Yeah.
um
Hmm.
those moments as an actor, I think, are endearing because it reminds you that it's like they're growing, they grow with each role too. And I'm not saying I'm any of those people, but it's weird to think you're in the same job, right? Like how weird. You're
Right,
like,
right.
wow. And so yeah, I think those movies stick out to me as the ones where just being a fly on the wall on a set like that, I think would be so incredibly eye-opening.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially with one of, your favorite actresses. You
I
can't.
know. She's
That-
cool.
yeah, that wouldn't be the worst either. So
No, especially with my little play loving heart. I mean,
yeah,
come on. I've seen the stage show and then I see the movie and then there's people I love in
right.
it. So
Yes.
yeah.
um. So Chelsey, is there anything that you, having not set expectations for what comes next, but is there anything that you really want to do now, specifically after all your experience and everything that you've done so far? Like a next like goal, like, man, I would love to be the lead or supporting in a feature comedy, kind of a like something you really want to do now more than ever.
Well, I'm in the thick of it right now. So I don't think
Ooh.
there's any going back. I'm like turning red underneath my I mean, you can see it through my blush, but I'm yeah. I'm working on it's a short, but I'm working with some collaborative friends, and I started off writing it, and then I decided that needed more mulling time, so I shelved it. But the drive of character and some certain obstacles, I was still very drawn to wanting to do, and so I outsourced. Spoke with some writer friends and have created a short with these people, and we're doing a few shots in London next month, and then the rest hopefully
Ooh.
shooting in Minnesota. And I would be acting in it, but I just have had so many creative friends on the opposite side, on production side, on crew side, that I think we align deeply on some storytelling elements that we want to do, and so started spearheading those conversations and manifesting those things to be real. And so we have a script, and we're setting up for just a few shots for next month while I'm there, and then the rest will be within the realm of all of us being freelancers and doing this full time as much as we can to put the rest of the shoots as our schedules allow.
Oh boy.
But to me, that was, fun stuff.
Yeah.
Especially because they're all so lovely and they're talented and they work a lot. And I just, that's the current goal. And I would say it's definitely challenged me beyond an actor. I've done some self-producing and some writing on 2 previous shorts. And I don't know what happened where I just like flicked my brain on and said, nope, this needs to be made. And I'm very grateful that I have some really intuitive and passionate friends that also started feeling just as excited as I, and have joined in to, join forces to create the next small story that, I think is just bringing some interesting collaborators together that haven't worked together. So that's the next goal, is to continue spearheading on that. And, I'm going to be more involved in post than I typically do as an actor. Similar to the other shorts that I worked on, I was, a bit more involved in post, not actually editing, but obviously going over and those types of things. And so that is a huge excitement of mine right now.
Yeah.
Love that.
Wow. So that sounds like what's next for you, right? So,
that is.
okay.
I mean,
Since it's
there's
next month here, but
it is next month. Well, there's obviously the day-to-day acting things, lots of auditions, lots of reading scripts, lots of those awesome things. So those are all still happening at the same time. So a lot of the stuff for my self project is always like, let me just carve out those weird hours, or oops, I stayed up a little late. But they're you love it. So I'll sacrifice a bit of sleep,
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, like you said, the freelance life, that's always a challenge to schedule. I know.
Mhm.
We both know, but
Mhm.
the only time we could work together was during 2020, really. So it was like,
I know. I know. And we
I,
were just very far from each other and outside and
hmm And I had
and
to look back. I was like, was this 2020? Because I was like, we did a lot that day. Because it was like when we collaborated on some
Mhm.
content, it was just kind of like, this looks like a bunch of different days. It's like,
It does. Yeah.
yeah,
Minnesota was kind to us that day. It gave us so much expression in the sky that
yeah.
I mean, it looked like, you know, I don't know,
It
some sort
went
of
from
crazy
like,
storm was going to happen to
yeah,
beautiful sunshine.
right.
I was, I was very chilly, but it was fall and it was beautiful, and that's what happens.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Oh,
but it's wild to think it was that long ago.
yes, yes.
What's wrong with us,
I
Alan?
had to look it up. I was like, was that 2020 or was that 2021? I was thinking like, well, it's somewhere in there. But yeah,
Hmm.
and then it was like it was sunny, and then it wasn't, and then it was like, okay, that was the same day.
Yeah, we got our fair share of Mother Nature's wrath that day,
Yeah,
I think.
I think three of the
She
four
was
seasons
done.
showed up. Yeah,
Yeah, she was at the end of set. She was so rude. She was
it's
done.
like
She
get
wanted to
off
go
set
home.
now. Yeah,
Yeah. I
and we wouldn't listen. We're like, no, just a little more,
know.
just one more
Just like let
shot.
the sun set and
Yeah,
then we're good.
right. Where can people find your work, follow you, support you, see what's happening in London, hopefully?
Maybe reach out if
Yeah.
they want to work with you.
Mm.
Oh gosh. Oh my Lanta. Okay, so I'm on Instagram, shocker, bum bum bum. And it's I don't know why I'm introing it like that. But it's at Chelsey Grant underscore actor. Insane name, I know. And it's Chelsey with an EY because my mom wanted to be different. Thanks, Mom. Appreciate it. And then I don't know. I think it's just, IMDb. I have, a reel out there and stuff. I do have a website, but I tend to make most of my connections on Instagram or through mutual pools of friends or networking events. So I would say easiest way to reach me is Instagram. And then normally from there, I usually just, if there's anything formal or business like, then I toss my email just to make it
Yeah.
easier because so Instagram has so many things. It's so many,
Yeah.
there's dog videos and
Oh, yeah.
dancing videos, and then there's business. So
Yes.
so yeah, that's where
Yeah.
you can find me, and I use it mostly for work. So my updates from London will be there, and usually things I'm allowed to reveal of projects and things like that go there too.
Hmm.
And sometimes me just being a weirdo. So careful of those ones. You can skip those ones if you want.
Which is really what Instagram's for when we're honest. The
I,
puppy
you
videos and
know,
just being weird. So
just being weird.
yeah,
And just loving being weird. My
yeah,
sister,
just having
she's
fun
the
with
one
it.
that tells me to post because she's like she likes to pretend. My older sister is in business and sales, and she's phenomenal. And I swear I would not have an Instagram if it wasn't for her nudging me to tell me to post. She's like, "What about that cool thing? Why didn't you post about that?" So I'm very grateful. I have a sassy social media manager, which is just my sister reminding me that it is part of my job to also do that.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
and
Yeah.
if you're taking it too seriously, you're doing it wrong. So it's
Yeah.
like, I mean, it's social
Yeah.
Yep.
media. It's, it's never supposed to be taken seriously, but somewhere along the line, people are like,
Hmm.
well, you got to start taking this seriously now. It's like,
Oh,
really?
People
yeah.
people really react to and connect with the silliness though, and like just being a genuine nerd. Like they love it because everybody is, and so they're like, oh, I mean, if she is, then I'm okay. Then it's
All
pretty
right.
okay that I am too, and so then they really connect. So
Mm.
Well,
absolutely.
thank you for saying that because I always say the term like nerd and weird and all of those things are actually terms of endearment because
Oh
why?
yeah,
It just means you're unapologetically passionate or
yeah,
enthusiastic for things you like. How bad is
yes,
that? Not bad.
exactly, yes,
So
precisely.
lovely.
um,
I'm glad we're on the same page.
we really are like just across the board. All right, Chelsey, we've got one more question. It's the big one. I'm actually very excited for your answer after us talking this whole time. But what
No
do you
pressure.
Right? Not at all. Dun, dun, dun. What do you want people to remember most about you?
Oh, okay. This is actually really, really funny because you mentioned it earlier. And that's why I was very taken aback in a lovely way, which is that people think I care, um, genuinely, about them and their success, about their art, about when they aren't feeling successful or when they're pursuing what they love. I want people to remember me as someone who cares because I would rather someone be like, wow, she's a not great actor, but she cares about people. Awesome. I care about my work and my family and my friends and my fellow artists and colleagues that vulnerably put their work out there all the time. And I honestly, my whole life, I said, if there's going to be core values that I take and keep, it is that I genuinely care about people. And I hope that comes through in my work and the people I work with.
I love that.
Yeah, that's a
And
good one.
can say we haven't worked together, but I can absolutely confirm that that is what I'm taking from this I was going to say from this call. This isn't a call.
From this call, yes,
from
very
this,
formal.
Yeah, from this meeting. We'll conclude, but yeah, no, I can absolutely say that I'm taking that from this. So,
oh, well, thank you. That's why I made me
yeah.
like slightly emotional. I was like, whoa,
Oh.
how did she know what is so meaningful to me? And it's true. And I think that's a big reason why I'm a crazy artist who chose this job is because, every role is an opportunity to like deeply care about someone, whether it's quote based off of a real person or it is, it is almost always elements of each character is real. They are. So, what a cool job, right?
Right. The coolest.
How lucky that you get to take time to learn about somebody so deeply. So yeah, it's meaningful to me. So thank you, both of you, for such like a lovely chat. It was very fun.
It was. Thank you so much for joining, being here, giving us your time. This was
Yeah.
awesome. We will definitely have to have you back. Maybe have you on our Patreon where we can just chat about all the fun things, all the random, silly, nerdy, fun things.
Uh-oh, careful. Don't start me. I won't stop.
I'm excited. We're going to have to absolutely do that. But
well,
thank you again.
Both.
This was really wonderful.
No, thank you. You're both smirking and smiley, and it just is like bringing it back for me. So I'm very grateful for sneaking away from the day to day to get to do something cool and different like this. So, and yes, and shout out your Patreon and all of your things. Woo. I'm super excited to do even more deep diving.
Absolutely. It's going to be awesome. Thank you to all of our listeners. Until next time, this has been Film in Minnesota.